You ever meet someone who makes your heart race just by looking at you? Not because they're trying to, but because something in their eyes feels like it's pulling you in, daring you to step closer to a line you know you shouldn't cross? It's like the air changes, gets heavier, and suddenly you're aware of every breath, every heartbeat. I was 19, barely figuring out who I was, when I walked into my best friend's house one summer evening. The air was warm, thick with the scent of cut grass and fading daylight. His mom, Laura, was in the kitchen, her hair tied back loosely, strands falling around her face like she didn't care to fix them. She held a glass of wine, her fingers wrapped delicately around the stem, and she looked at me, really looked at me, and laughed softly. "You always know how to make me smile," she said, her voice warm, teasing, like she knew something I didn't. That moment hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just her words. It was the way her eyes lingered, soft and searching, the way her laugh felt like it was just for me, a secret wrapped in sound. I stood there, frozen in the doorway, my heart pounding so loud I thought she could hear it. Because Laura wasn't just anyone. She was my best friend's mom. And that one sentence, that one look, started something I couldn't stop, no matter how hard I tried. Have you ever felt a moment shift your entire world? Like 1 second, everything's normal, safe, predictable, and the next, you're standing on the edge of something dangerous, something you want so badly it scares you? It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing one step could ruin everything, but you're still tempted to lean forward, to see how it feels to fall. That's where this story begins. And trust me, it only gets messier from there, a tangled web of guilt, longing, and moments I couldn't shake no matter how far I ran. I was a kid who thought he had it all figured out. At 19, life was simple, or at least it seemed that way. I'd spend my days with my best friend, Jake, holed up in his basement, playing video games until the early hours, our laughter echoing off the walls. We'd sneak a beer or two when his parents weren't looking, feeling like rebels for something so small. Jake and I had been inseparable since middle school, two kids who found each other in the chaos of adolescence and never let go. His house was my second home, a place where I could crash without a second thought, where the fridge was always stocked, and the couch was always open. His parents, Laura and Tom, were like the cool aunt and uncle I never had. Tom was a big-shot lawyer, always at the office or on some business trip, his presence more like a shadow than a person. But Laura? Laura was the heartbeat of that house. She was always there, always present, always making sure we were fed, happy, cared for. She'd make us sandwiches when we were up late playing Call of Duty, her hands quick and sure as she piled turkey and cheese onto bread. She'd ask about my college plans with this genuine interest that made me feel seen, like my dreams mattered, like I wasn't just some kid stumbling through life. Laura was 42, but she didn't carry her age like most people. There was this energy about her, vibrant, warm, like she was still chasing something, still figuring out life just like I was. She wasn't beautiful in the obvious way, not like the women you'd see on magazine covers or in movies. Her beauty was quieter, subtler, the kind that sneaks up on you. It was in the way she'd tuck a strand of dark hair behind her ear when she was lost in thought, or how her laugh would fill a room, making everyone around her feel lighter, like the world wasn't so heavy after all. I didn't think much of it at first. She was just Jake's mom, you know? A fixture in my life, like the worn couch in their living room or the creaky back door. But that summer, something changed. Maybe it was because I was older, starting to see the world through new eyes. Maybe it was because I was spending more time at their house, with Tom gone on endless business trips and Jake working a part-time job at the local hardware store. Whatever it was, I started noticing her. The way she moved through the kitchen, graceful but unhurried. The way she'd talk, her voice soft but steady, like she was choosing every word carefully. The way she'd catch my eye and hold it just a second too long, like she was seeing something in me I didn't even know was there. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told myself. I'd show up to hang out with Jake, but he'd be at work, and Laura would invite me in anyway. "No sense driving all the way home," she'd say, her voice casual as she poured me a glass of iced tea, the ice clinking against the glass. We'd sit at the kitchen table, and we'd talk about school, about my dreams of being a writer, about her life before she became a mom. She'd tell me stories about her 20s, how she used to travel, how she once backpacked through Europe with nothing but a journal and a dream. Her eyes would light up when she talked about it, like she was reliving those moments, and I'd listen, hanging on every word, feeling this pull I couldn't explain. It wasn't just that she was older or experienced. It wasn't just the stories. It was her. The way she made me feel like I was more than just some kid, like my thoughts, my fears, my hopes mattered. She'd lean forward when she listened, her chin resting on her hand, her eyes locked on mine, and I'd feel this warmth, this connection, that I didn't have with anyone else. But there was this undercurrent, this quiet unease that I couldn't shake. I knew it was wrong to feel this way. Jake was my best friend, the guy who'd been there through every awkward phase, every heartbreak, every late-night talk about what we wanted from life. His mom was, well, his mom. She was supposed to be off-limits, untouchable, a part of his world that I had no right to even think about this way. And yet, every time I left their house, I'd catch myself thinking about her. Her smile, bright and unguarded. Her voice, low and warm. The way she'd lean in when she talked, like she was sharing a secret just with me. I told myself it was nothing, just a stupid crush, a fleeting thing that would fade with time. But deep down, I knew it was more. It was like a seed had been planted, and no matter how much I tried to ignore it, it was growing, taking root in a place I couldn't reach. And the worst part? I think she knew it too. There was something in the way she looked at me, the way her smile lingered, that made me wonder if she felt it too, if she was standing on the same edge I was. That summer, things started to shift, slow and subtle at first, like the way the light changes just before a storm. Jake got busier with his job, picking up extra shifts to save for college, and I found myself at their house more often when he wasn't there. Laura never seemed to mind. She'd invite me in, we'd talk, and it felt natural. Too natural. Like we were slipping into something we both knew we shouldn't. There was this one night, mid-July, when everything changed. Jake was working a double shift, and I'd stopped by to grab a hoodie I'd left there the week before. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels alive, like it's holding its breath. Laura was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a book, her legs tucked under her, a soft glow from the lamp casting shadows across her face. She looked up when I walked in, and there was that smile again, the one that made my chest tighten. "You're back," she said, her voice light but with this undercurrent, like she'd been waiting for me. My stomach flipped, a mix of excitement and dread. I mumbled something about the hoodie, my voice awkward, too loud in the quiet room. But she waved me off, closing her book and setting it aside. "Sit for a minute," she said, patting the couch beside her. I hesitated, my heart thudding, but I sat, the cushions sinking slightly under my weight. She poured me a glass of wine, not iced tea, and handed it to me, her fingers brushing the glass as she did. I took it, even though I felt like I was crossing some invisible line, stepping into a space I didn't belong. We talked for hours that night, about everything and nothing. She told me about her marriage, how Tom was always gone, how she felt like she was living in his shadow, a supporting character in someone else's story. Her voice was soft, raw, like she was peeling back layers she didn't show to anyone else. I told her about my fears, how I wasn't sure I'd ever be good enough to make it as a writer, how I felt like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. She listened, really listened, her eyes locked on mine, and when she spoke, her words felt like they were just for me, like a lifeline I didn't know I needed. Then it happened. We were laughing about something stupid, some old movie we both loved, a cheesy rom-com from the 90s, and she reached out, her hand brushing mine. It was brief, barely a second, but it felt like a spark, like electricity running through me. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, the room went quiet, the air thick with something unspoken. "You always know how to make me smile," she said, her voice soft, almost a whisper, like she was afraid to say it too loud. My heart stopped. There was something in her tone, something that wasn't just friendly. It was intimate, like a confession, like she was saying something she'd been holding back. I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat was dry, my mind a mess of thoughts I couldn't sort out. I just stared at her, and she stared back, her eyes searching mine, like she was looking for an answer I didn't know how to give. That's when the guilt hit, sharp and heavy, like a punch to the chest. Jake. Her son. My best friend. The guy who'd been by my side through everything, who trusted me, who never suspected I was sitting here, feeling this way about his mom. What was I doing? What was she doing? The room felt too small, the air too thick. I pulled my hand back, mumbled some excuse about needing to get home, and practically bolted for the door. But as I drove home, my mind was racing, replaying every second of that moment. Did she mean it? Was I imagining things? The way she looked at me, the way her voice dropped, it felt real. Too real. And the worst part? I wanted it to be real. I wanted her to mean it, to feel the same pull I did. But that thought terrified me. Because if she did, what did that mean for me? For Jake? For the life we'd built together as friends? The next time I saw her, it was worse. Jake was there, sprawled on the couch, playing some new game he'd been obsessed with. Laura was in the kitchen, her usual self, warm, funny, the perfect mom. She laughed at Jake's jokes, teased him about his messy room, and it was like nothing had happened. But every time she glanced my way, I felt it. That pull. That secret. Like there was a thread between us, invisible but unbreakable. I tried to act normal, to laugh along with Jake, to pretend everything was fine. But it wasn't. I started finding excuses to go over when I knew Jake wouldn't be there. I'd tell myself I was just being friendly, just checking in, maybe grabbing something I'd left behind. But I wasn't. I was chasing something I didn't fully understand, something that felt dangerous and alive all at once, like standing too close to a fire you know will burn you but can't walk away from. The weeks that followed were a blur of tension and denial, each moment building on the last, pulling me deeper into something I couldn't control. I'd show up at their house, telling myself it was for Jake, but my eyes were always on Laura. She'd greet me with that same smile, that same warmth, but there was always something more now, a glance that lingered too long, a touch that felt too deliberate. One night, she asked me to help her fix a shelf in the garage. It was just the two of us, the house quiet, the air thick with summer heat, and the faint smell of sawdust. We worked side by side, our shoulders brushing as we hammered nails into wood, the rhythm of it almost hypnotic. Every touch felt electric, every word loaded with meaning we didn't dare say out loud. When we finished, she leaned against the workbench, wiping sweat from her brow, and looked at me. "You're good at this," she said, her voice low, her eyes saying something else entirely. I wanted to step closer, to close the gap between us, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. I started noticing things I hadn't before, small details that felt like clues to a puzzle I was too afraid to solve. The way she'd linger when she handed me a drink, her fingers grazing mine just long enough to make my pulse race. The way she'd ask about my life, my dreams, like she was trying to know me in a way no one else did. And I let her. I told her things I'd never told anyone, not Jake, not my parents, not even myself in the quiet of my own mind. About how I felt lost sometimes, like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't, like I was wearing a mask I didn't know how to take off. She'd listen, her eyes soft, her expression open, and she'd say things like, "You're more than you think you are." It felt like she saw me, really saw me, in a way that made my chest ache, like she was reaching into a part of me I'd kept hidden from the world. But the guilt was always there, gnawing at me, a constant reminder of the line I was dangerously close to crossing. Jake was my brother in all but blood. We'd been through everything together, heartbreaks, fights, late-night talks about the future, dreams we swore we'd chase together. He was the one who'd been there when my first girlfriend broke my heart, who'd stayed up with me until dawn when my dad lost his job, who'd always had my back no matter what. How could I feel this way about his mom? What kind of friend was I? What kind of person? The questions circled in my head, relentless, but they didn't stop me. I started avoiding Jake, making excuses when he wanted to hang out. I'd say I was busy with school, with work, with anything that sounded plausible. But the truth was, I couldn't look him in the eye. Not when I was carrying this secret, this thing I couldn't name, this feeling that was growing stronger every day. Laura didn't make it easier. She never crossed the line, not really, but she didn't pull back either. There was this one evening, late August, when Jake was out with his girlfriend, and I ended up at their house again. I didn't even have a good excuse this time. I just showed up, my heart pounding as I knocked on the door. Laura answered, and there was that smile again, softer this time, like she knew why I was there. She was in the backyard, sitting by a small fire pit, a blanket draped over her shoulders, the flames casting flickering shadows across her face. She invited me to join her, and I did, even though I knew I shouldn't. We sat there, the fire crackling, the stars bright above us, and she talked about her life, her regrets, her dreams, the things she'd given up to be a wife and mom. She told me about the girl she used to be, the one who wanted to write poetry, who wanted to see the world, who thought life would be bigger than this. Her voice was raw, unguarded, and I listened, my heart pounding, wanting to reach out, to tell her how I felt, to say the words I'd been holding back for weeks. Then she looked at me, her eyes reflecting the firelight, and said, "You make me feel alive again." It wasn't a confession, not exactly, but it was close, so close it stole my breath. My mind raced, 1,000 thoughts colliding. I wanted to say it, tell her I felt the same, that I couldn't stop thinking about her, that she was in every corner of my mind, every quiet moment of my day. But the image of Jake flashed in my mind, his laugh, his trust, and I froze. The weight of it all, the guilt, the longing, the fear, pressed down on me, and I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I mumbled something about needing to go, my voice shaky, and I left, my heart racing, my mind a mess of what-ifs and regrets. The next day, I saw Jake. He was his usual self, joking around, talking about his girlfriend, clueless about the storm raging inside me. We played video games, just like old times, but I was distracted, my eyes darting to the kitchen where Laura was washing dishes, her movements calm, ordinary. But when our eyes met, there was this unspoken thing between us, a question, a possibility, that hung in the air like smoke. I hated myself for wanting to know the answer, for wanting to step closer to that edge, to see what was on the other side. I hated how much I wanted her, how much I wanted to believe she felt it too. But I also hated the thought of losing Jake, of betraying him, of breaking something that had been a part of me for so long. The rest of the summer passed in a haze of stolen glances and moments I couldn't let go. Every conversation with Laura felt like a tightrope walk, every touch a spark that threatened to set everything ablaze. I'd lie awake at night, replaying her words, her smiles, trying to figure out what was real and what was in my head. I'd tell myself to stop, to walk away, to let it go, but I couldn't. It was like she'd become a part of me, a piece I didn't know was missing until she filled it. But with every moment I spent with her, the guilt grew heavier, the fear sharper, until I felt like I was drowning in it. Summer ended, and I went back to college, a couple of hours away, hoping the distance would help, that it would break whatever this was. I told myself I'd leave it behind, that it was just a phase, a stupid obsession that would fade with time. But it wasn't. I'd see Laura in my dreams, hear her laugh in my head, feel that pull every time I thought of her, like a magnet I couldn't resist. I stopped going to Jake's house as much, made excuses about schoolwork, about being busy with new friends, new classes. But the truth was, I couldn't face her. Not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted it too much. Every time I thought about going back, I'd imagine her smile, her voice, and I'd feel that same ache, that same longing that scared me as much as it thrilled me. Then, one day, Jake called me, his voice heavy, different. He was upset, said his parents were splitting up. Laura was leaving Tom. I didn't know what to feel, shock, guilt, or something dangerously close to hope, like a door I'd forced shut was creaking open. I saw her one last time, a few weeks later, when I went to pick up Jake for a road trip we planned months ago. She was packing boxes in the living room, her hair tied back, her eyes tired but still so alive, still so her. She smiled at me, that same smile that had started it all, and said, "Take care of him, okay?" Her voice was soft, steady, but there was something in it, something that wasn't just about Jake. I nodded, my throat tight, unable to say anything more. I wanted to ask her what it all meant, what we'd been doing all summer, what she felt when she looked at me. But I didn't. I couldn't. I never told her how I felt. I never told Jake. And maybe that's the worst part, the part that keeps me up at night, even now, years later. I'll never know what could have been, what she really meant with those looks, those words, that smile that felt like it was just for me. Was it all in my head, or did she feel it too? Did she see the same edge I did, feel the same pull, the same fear? That question haunts me, like a song stuck on repeat, a melody I can't shake. I think about her sometimes, wonder where she is, what she's doing, if she ever thinks of me. And I wonder if I made the right choice, walking away, keeping the secret, protecting what I had with Jake. Or if I lost something I'll never find again. Have you ever had a moment you couldn't let go of, a feeling you knew was wrong but felt so right it consumed you? A time when you stood on the edge of something forbidden and wanted to jump, even though you knew you'd fall? Share your story in the comments, because I know I'm not the only one who's felt this. And if this hit you as hard as it hit me, if it made your heart race and your mind wander, hit that subscribe button for more stories that dig deep, that make you feel everything, that remind you what it's like to be alive.